What is film? Film is beautiful. It's creating characters. Characters you can relate to. It's creating icons.
Welcome, filmmakers, to the Real Life Film Festival. This marks the 6th annual event in a partnership between the Stanislaus County Office of Education and the State Theater in beautiful downtown Modesto. The prime goal of the Real Life Film Festival is to instill 21st century learning and storytelling skills into students and provide them an opportunity to share their story. All of the resources for this webinar can be found online at bit.ly/Student Films Inc. Should you have any questions related to the information presented in this webinar, please feel free to email Danielle Jones, that's djones@stanco.org, or Luke Hibbard, that's lhibbard@stanco.org. We would be happy to assist you with any questions you may have related to creating or submitting a film for the Real Life Film Festival. So on our home page here at Student Films Inc., you can scroll down and get a feel for what we will cover in this webinar. To get a feel for submissions that have been submitted in the past, feel free to scroll down below the information tied to today's webinar. There you can see previously submitted films to the Real Life Film Festivals. Here you can see winners from 2013 up through this year's film festival in 2016. This can be a nice piece in helping your students understand the type of film that can be created and submitted for awards at the Real Life Film Festival. So before we dive into the processes and rules of the Real Life Film Festival, let's take a minute to just talk about show night really quickly. As we mentioned before, this is the 6th annual event in which there has been a partnership between the Stanislaus County Office of Education and the State Theater in downtown Modesto. Show night at the State truly is a magical event for the students as well as the staff. Over the course of the evening, the young filmmakers and their families have a chance to celebrate by walking the red carpet, interacting with the paparazzi, celebrating all their hard work with their castmates, seeing their film played on the big screen, and taking home the hardware. Now that you have a feel for the event, let's take a look at what it's required and able to participate in the Real Life Film Festival. To do this, again, navigate to the Student Films Inc. homepage, and what you'll want to do is travel across the tabs at the top until you come over here to the right-hand side and find the tab for Real Life. Simply click there, and that will redirect you to the homepage for the film festival. When you arrive at the Film Festival homepage, the first article you will encounter is the Real Life Film Festival timetable. As you can see, we are down here already at about Phase 3 Film Festival timeline. You're currently viewing the virtual webinar, and there has been some training to this point, both by our in-house prevention staff, the Educational and Technology Center staff, and this year we were very fortunate to bring in an authentic filmmaker, Mr. Dean Camara, originally of Modesto, to walk some of our staff through filmmaking training. But essentially we are currently within the window where students and staff should be creating their films. And the first thing we would like to point out is the submission deadline. We would like your intent to submit. Now, this is not the actual film. This is just simply your declaration. The film festival sounds like something myself and my students would like to participate in. We would like to know who is partaking in the festival by December 30th, 2016. At that point, the next date you should be aware of is February 6, 2017.
This is when the submission window opens.
There are a few documents that we'll speak to here in just a moment, but you can see here that March 6th of 2017, that is when the participation names are due, and films themselves must be submitted by March the 13th of 2017, so we can get them to our very qualified judging staff, and we'll speak to that in just a moment. Judging is completed by March the 31st, and then as we mentioned earlier, May the 3rd will be awards or show night, as we affectionately call it, at the beautiful State Theater, and doors open at 5, event at 6. We certainly hope to see you there that evening. So now that you have seen kind of the timeline for how the film festival works, let's slip down here below this document and get into the rules and regulations of the film festival. So submitting to the Real Life Film Festival suggests that you adhere to these guidelines. There will be several divisions, so there will be a grades 5 through 8 after school division. There will be a grades 5 through 8 school day division. There will also be a high school or 9 through 12 school day division. So we're basically looking at 3 different groups of students that can enter. And you may have groups of up to 20 students with a maximum of 4 entries per site. Now, here this figure 20 students. We realize that for a group shot or something to that effect, you may require more than 20 students, and this is perfectly fine. However, on the evening of the show, the max number of students that can be credited with the creating of this film, or basically welcomed on stage, is 20. Okay, so that's important to keep in mind. Again, any number of students may appear, crowd scene, crowded gymnasium, cafeteria shot, etc. However, only the 20 students' names who are submitted for the submission of this film are allowed to kind of attend the event that evening and come on stage. There is no cost for the Real Life Film Festival. The categories contained within the film festival are threefold. Students are encouraged to create an animation film. They may very well want to create a documentary or be encouraged to create a blockbuster. And typically blockbusters fit into 3 genres, either action, drama, or comedy. And again, all of those submissions are welcome for the Real Life Film Festival. So essentially, we are looking at 9 first and second place awards being handed out on show night. So there will be a grades 5 through 8 after school, animation, documentary, and blockbuster. There will be a school day 5 through 8, animation, documentary, blockbuster, and the same can be said for high school or 9 through 12. The guidelines suggest that you should submit in a WMV Windows video file, a iMovie or Apple file, or an AVI file. All those are fine. We typically set these again as guidelines, but the way that media has kind of evolved over the last few years, we can work with you largely in whatever format that you're working with. But the key piece here under the type of project are limited to 4 minutes. So the story that the students tell must come in under 4 minutes. Okay. Again, for technology assistance or questions related to this webinar, there is the contact information of some folks that can help you out. We are very proud of our judging system. We do reach out to film experts in and out of the area, and these films will be provided to our crack staff of judges who do this from all around the country, really, and provide your filmmakers with some really great feedback. So if you are curious about how the films will be scored, after you read about judging, you may simply scroll down here below all of this information where you can get a look at the Real Life Film Festival rubric. Okay, so know well in advance of creating your film how those films will be scored. Okay. There are prizes awarded to each category. Okay, typically that's given to a first place finisher and a runner-up in each of the categories we mentioned before. And now let's get into the real nitty-gritty here. Okay, so how does the submission piece work? You, the advisor or teacher of record, are responsible to submit the final product. Individuals or groups of up to 20 students can participate. Again, you may have more than 20 students in, just 20 will be receiving recognition for an award-winning film. Again, critical piece here on item number 3, 4 entries per site is the max. So if you've got a group of 4 kids that want to work together, that's super. You got another group of 10, but maybe you have kind of a single filmmaker or a director that wants to sit down and do a documentary shot. They can do that as well. So 4 entries per site. The deadline, which we have covered, is March 13th at 5 p.m. on the 13th of March. Okay, you can feel free to submit those to us electronically. Your contact would be Luke Hibbard. There would probably be your best bet as far as processing an electronic submission. However, if you're going to bring us a hard copy on a disc or something like that, please make an appointment, and your point of contact on that one would probably be best accomplished through Danielle Jones or Sandy Montgomery. Again, feel free to shoot them an appointment to bring a hard copy of your film. Okay, entries must represent work that is completed during this school year, and the students must be responsible for producing the work. Obviously, we love for advisors to give comments or constructive feedback during the editing process, but the intent here is that the students are filming, shooting, capturing audio, taking the film from storyboard to the big screen. Okay, any students appearing in the films must have submitted a media release. Those forms, again, are available down here at the bottom of this webinar page. Again, this is the Real Life tab on the Student Films Inc. webpage. Okay, you can access those forms here. And again, if you would like to reach out to Danielle or Sandy, they can email you these forms as well. And again, their contact information is here. So again, Danielle or Sandy would be able to get you the student media release forms. Okay, and again, we can work with you on how that film gets submitted. We do like to advocate that students adhere to fair use guidelines. That means essentially copyrighted material is kind of a no-go in our festival, right? So if a film has a score, that score needs to be either copyright free or generated by the students themselves. Okay, so before we talk about how you could submit your intent to participate, what we like to show off is our training page itself. So when we first picked up this webinar, we were here on the Student Films Inc. homepage, where again at the bottom of this page you could see previous entries. Now the trick with creating a film is sometimes just steering the kids down the right path, or the students down the right path. So what we'd like to point out is, if nothing else, there is a series of filmmaking tools at your disposal here that you can help get the kids going or generate some ideas. So for example, to the right of the Student Films Inc. tab, you're going to find a tab titled Make a Plan. On the Make a Plan tab, you will see here that this exposes students to the elements of story. And most stories that we have all come to know and love carry a 3-act structure where we see life as normal. We are given this view of these extraordinary events, ultimately hitting the crisis or climax point before the falling action and returning to life as usual. And just helping students understand how a story works can be pretty beneficial to their overall product. We also like to have students work through developing characters. As you know, we're all familiar with "a picture tells 1,000 words," and what we like to have students do is maybe walk through and do some quick character sketches about who people might be, give me a backstory, talk to me about the characters in your particular film and what they can convey to us on the screen without necessarily coming out and saying what their role in the film is. we like to talk to students also about storyboarding. So many students feel as though they can just grab the camera and go. What we like to advocate is if you do nothing else with the students, please have them storyboard and get their ideas out on paper before ever going and picking up the camera. So down here below several examples of storyboarding, they can get a feel for what that looks like, in addition to actual storyboard templates that you can download and use with students. Okay, so again, kind of some training modules here on the Real Life homepage. Same concept can be said for scripting, filming, editing, but what we do like to point out, new to us this year, as we mentioned before, the great Dean Kamara, Modesto native, and brilliant filmmaker himself, has provided us with some technical information this year on how students can go about the technical craft of creating a film. So here you can see that he has given us details on mechanics of a camera, framing a shot, different techniques, lighting, sound, and basically walks staff and students through basically the nitty-gritty of how a film comes to be. So we are truly blessed to have Dean on board this year. He's provided us with some great content and great materials. So again, feel free to work through the training modules on the Real Life site, and know down here on the final tab, Kamara 101, you're going to see some really, really great stuff from the industry standard that is Dean Kamara. Now, to wrap this thing up, if you've decided this sounds good, and I'm an after-school supervisor, I may be a district administrator, I may be even a high school language arts teacher that would like to have my students recreate a scene from a famous novel or a play we're reading. We've decided we do want to go for it. We want to participate in the Real Life Film Festival. What you're going to do is come to the Real Life tab, and you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, past the guidelines, past the rules, past the regulations, and the rubric, and the student media release, until you get to this Real Life Film Festival intent to submit. Here you're simply going to give us some information. Okay, you're going to tell us if you're an after-school program or a main school day. I'll choose after-school club at this point. I will hit next, and there you're going to walk us through who you are, the participating school, the advisor, contact phone information, all that good stuff, and that way we can anticipate receiving a film from you. And this is actually a required piece for the film festival, and that just helps us to make plans and be prepared the best we possibly can for all the wonderful films that you and your students will submit. So again, Real Life tab, all over here on the right hand side. And again, that is at the Student Films Inc. web address, bit.ly/Student Films Inc. Again, the Real Life tab, scroll all the way to the bottom and let us know if in fact you would like to participate in the Real Life Film Festival. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. One last look at that contact information right here. Get a hold of Luke, Danielle, or Sandy, and we really look forward to having you participate with us this year in the spring. So please, again, do not hesitate to contact us with any questions, and we love that you've decided to empower your students and give them a voice and allow them to tell their story through film. Have a great day, everybody.